Whitehaven, a remote town on the coast of Cumbria, would appear to be the perfect place to settle and live a quiet and peaceful life. But things don't always turn out as planned.
The whole situation, total nightmare.
Past 5 years, it's been hell. I've sat and I've cried and I've cried.
Carol and Trevor Gilmore bought a rundown barn in the area that was to be their little slice of heaven.
Trevor actually fell in love with it right away. He didn't even have to go into the property itself.
You could tell the potential of the building and the panoramics. That's what really sold me on it.
But the beautiful views weren't the only thing that came with the barn. Lynn Brophy had lived next door for 18 years, and the previous owners had had long-running disputes with her in the past.
We were told not to get into any confrontation with her from the estate agents from the word go, and we didn't.
In 2009, Trevor and Carol got the keys to the barn, and as a building tradesman, Trevor wanted to be hands-on in the renovation.
Plan was to do the property up over the next couple of years as and when we could afford it, and then when it got to near completion, sell our own property and spend the equity out of that for the internal finishes.
With a mammoth task on their hands, the Gilmores started work immediately.
This building here, it was unsafe and it was derelict, so we got security fencing which ran right along to the fence.
It was up for sale, it had been ransacked, so we thought, because it was a bit semi-rural and we weren't on site all the time, we had to put CCTV up to protect the place.
The cameras covered their garden and outbuildings 24/7. But what they caught on camera were their neighbours.
Mrs. Brophy and her family dismantled part of the Harris fencing, went into the area with a strimmer and a lawnmower. And this little bit of grass here, the seamless concrete, they used to strim it. We didn't have a clue why they were engaging in such bizarre behaviour.
We laughed at first and thought she's doing a job for us.
Yeah,
she's keeping the weeds down.
But Trevor and Carol would soon find out that providing a free gardening service was the last thing on her mind.
We were working here. Mrs. Brophy came from her house, said, "Can I have a word?" So we stopped work and started talking to her.
I did, you didn't.
Well, Trevor started talking to her, I just observed.
Trevor Gilmore was fine. He introduced himself as Trevor and he was quite nice. But Carol, she stayed standoffish. She didn't speak, she didn't say hello, she didn't say anything. And I thought, uh-oh, alarm bells started ringing, to be honest.
And it was at that point that Trevor asked her to remove her belongings from a building that was on our land.
She said no, the garage was actually owned by her. Well, according to our deeds, it was in my land.
And her answer was, well, it's in my deeds as well.
Land agency drew the deeds up wrong.
I says, I believe they're mine. I was told that they were mine. I says, and that's it at the end of the day.
And I thought, we'll see, I'll sort you out.
No, you didn't.
So on a Saturday morning, 8:30, I came up with two colleagues who works for us, my wife and my stepson, and we cleared the garage out.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing, to be honest. I couldn't. Shouted through the window, leave that stuff alone, it's mine, that building does not belong to you, get off it. They just laughed. That's all they did, was just stood there laughing.
Trevor's deeds showed that Mrs. Brophy owned less than a metre of the garage.
Then I got my still saw out, split it on the boundary, and then knocked it down with a sledgehammer. We left her with a bush shelter.
How could I stop him? How? I'd like to know how. I couldn't go up and wrestle them to the ground or anything like that.
But a few months later, Lynn Brophy dealt them another blow.
we got a letter in the post and she was claiming part of the land.
And that was the start of our nightmare.
Lynn was putting in a claim through the courts for possession of the Gilmores' entire front garden, on the grounds that she had tended to it for the last 18 years.
Started tending that land when I moved there in 1997, in summer, and I've got photographic evidence to prove that as well.
We laughed at first because we couldn't believe it, and then when we realised how serious it was, we just couldn't believe that somebody could do that.
We were bullied into protecting what was ours.
The gauntlet had been thrown, and the Gilmores had no choice but to engage a solicitor and build their case for court.
It was just paperwork, research. It was a full-time job for me. I didn't sleep. I could go for days without sleeping. It took over our lives. It took over everything. It was a 24/7
Nightmare.
The only reason that we can think of to explain Mrs. Brophy's behaviour is that she's bitter that we bought the property when her family were trying to buy it.
My son and daughter-in-law had made offers on the property and they were declined, and then they made another offer and they were declined, and they ended up making an offer of 81,000, and it was knocked back for Mr. and Mrs. Gilmore's £60,000 offer.
The previous owners had chosen not to sell to Lynn Brophy, selling instead to the Gilmores. But Lynn still wanted it, and now claimed the Gilmores' entire front garden was in fact hers. The Gilmores were now being forced to prove they own the land, despite their deeds being clear.
The legal bills kept going up and up and up.
And Trevor's day job was suffering.
I was letting people down that I'd worked for years, and at one stage they said, take time out to get yourself sorted and then come back to us.
And they were still trying to continue work on the barn whenever they had a free moment.
Mr. Gilmore knows they're not supposed to work at weekends. They can work on a Saturday till 1 o'clock and not Sundays. They worked with a digger, and I thought, I don't believe this. It's just like a builder's yard. And your house vibrates, you can feel the digger breaking the concrete.
Come on, girls.
For Lynn, living next door to the Gilmores' new home was becoming hard to bear.
I even had to have noise monitors in my house because Mrs. Gilmore had a cockerel on the front.
We had about 120 visits in a 12-month period. As I say, numerous visits off the council. Nothing was ever proved.
It got to the stage where we wanted to do something, we had to have a right good look at it and think, I wonder what problems this is going to arise. She done everything in her power to hold us up from actually renovating our property.
The court date arrived, and during the case, the previous owners of the barn rubbished Lynn's claims that she had tendered the land.
The judge ruled everything in our favour. There was no land to be split, and in the verdict, he said quite how Mrs. Brophy thought she would be able successfully to deceive the respondents and the adjudicator, and her own lawyers, no doubt, with this crude piece of manipulation, I have no idea. Which, when we read it, made us feel so much better, because we realised that other people could see through our lies as well.
When I lost the case, I was depressed. It wasn't nice being made a liar. I can tell you now, it wasn't.
Lynn was also ordered to pay the Gilmores an interim payment for their costs during the case, a total of £10,000.
Our dream was back on track. I think we went out for a meal that night and enjoyed ourselves. It didn't last long at all.
Lynn Brophy had been ordered to pay the Gilmores £10,000, but she was still convinced she had a case.
I can prove that From when I moved there, I saw to them buildings and cut the grass. Well, not me personally, but my family. We've always used them, and that plus that, they belong to me.
Lynn appealed to the High Court, but this time she was on her own.
My solicitor wasn't prepared to support me because I had outstanding fees with him.
With the battle still ongoing and with no payment from Lynn, the Gilmores were now at financial breaking point.
We couldn't keep absorbing all the legal fees that we were faced with.
There was no money left at all to do anything, which was just... the dream had gone.
And after over 2 years of litigation, they were faced with a harsh reality.
The drastic action we had to take was to sell my property that we owned in Whitehaven.
And what we were left with was the shell of a building, living in a caravan.
One big problem I have is...
Where to put stuff.
Shut up talking! Everything's just squashed everywhere.
Compact and bijou, it's just...
But finally, the end looked in sight when Lynn's appeal went to court.
Went in front of the judge, and even though he says you have to point errors of law out, well, I only had errors of fact, and I lost it on those grounds.
Lynn had nowhere else to take her appeal. She still owed the Gilmores £10,000, and 10 months later, they got a cheque through the post.
£1.
For £1. Via recorded delivery, which cost more than what the cheque was made out for.
I did send them a cheque for £1, but it was a nominal payment, so they couldn't say that I hadn't paid anything.
That started another court procedure to get the money back.
The Gilmores eventually won a court order for Lynn to pay them £100 a month until the debt is paid.
Well, £100's a lot of money at the end of the day. It is a lot of money. I do struggle to pay £100 a month. But rather than give them the benefit of the doubt and making me bankrupt, no, I'll pay it.
But just days after the order, trouble erupted yet again. When the Gilmores employed workmen to mark out a new boundary fence along the back of their property, Mrs. Brophy and her family came out in force, and Carol got it all on camera.
He knocked the string line down, come onto our land, the other side.
Miss Gilmore ripped my hedging out. That was on my land. I thought, I'm not having this, no, not on my land.
No, trespassing court.
And then while Trevor was working, Mrs. Brophy actually got in the hole that the post was going to go in to stop him working.
And I phoned the police to say that they were trespassing on my land and that I was not going to move out this hole. I said, no matter how cold it is, how late it is, whether it rains, I am not moving. This is my land, this is my property, and that's it.
The police asked Trevor and Carol to stop work on the fence until the matter could be resolved.
I was so disgusted, I just went back into the caravan and I stayed in there because I'd just had enough.
But Trevor wasn't going down without a fight.
And said, I could play this game all day.
For somebody to be so nasty to other people is a sad way to live your life.
Lynn was staging a protest against the Gilmores, putting a fence up on their boundary.
I ushered the police and them off my land and said, this is my land and it's not Mrs. Brophy's, so I'm sorry, you'll have to leave.
After a full review, police told Lynn that the Gilmores were within their rights to build the fence, and if she interfered with it again, she'd be breaking the law.
I don't like the woman. I would never like to meet the woman ever again in my life, and I wish she would just sell up, move on, and get out of my life.
I have sat there, I felt like just packing my bags and going. Sometimes I hate going back there because I know they're there. And I've cried, and I've cried, and I've cried, and there's probably still more tears. I actually thought, how much more can I take?
Following the multiple court hearings, the Gilmores' legal costs have increased to £25,000. Now with interest, Lynn owes them nearer £30,000.
We don't bank on Mrs Brophy ever paying the debt off unless she comes to sell a house. And in all honesty, that is the bitterest pill for us to swallow.
But despite it all, the Gilmores still have their dreams.
This room is going to be what is eventually, hopefully, going to be our bedroom. But hopefully...
This year, 2015, we shall be living in it.
This room will be the main bathroom. Yeah, with a bit of luck. Fingers crossed.
Come on, let's go.
But Lynn is still adamant.
I intend to fight tooth and nail. The boundary line was drawn wrong, incorrectly, and I will try and get a rectification of the deeds, either that or the decision overturned. And I will win that, I know I will. I've had cancer, I've beat cancer, and no one will beat me. Nobody. Cancer can't beat me, nobody will.
The countryside can seem like the perfect place for the quiet life many of us dream of. But even heaven has rules, and when you break them, all hell can break loose.
Oi!
In 2005, Lisa Tuttle and her family moved from a busy town to the remote village of Geldeston.
We moved here because we were in a 3-bedroom house that was pretty overcrowded because we have 5 children. This place with a massive back garden, big house, lots of room for the kids to run about in, lots of open fields, lots of walkways.
Surrounded by arable land, they could not have asked for a more idyllic surrounding to start a new life.
Couldn't have asked for a nicer place to live.
But for the kids, it took a while to feel at home.
At first you had to, find friends. There weren't many friends around here, but then as the years went by, more people moved in here.
To help them settle in, Lisa bought them a dog. Ruby the Labrador was the perfect addition to a country home. Or so they thought.
Well, Ruby, she was a really gentle dog. I loved her, but she kept escaping.
But with nothing but fields surrounding them, the family thought, what harm could Ruby's roaming do? A visit from the farmer next door soon provided the answer.
He just come and knocked on the door and he come and said, you know, your dog's getting out, she's being a problem, she's going after my pheasants. I don't really like him. I thought he was a bit rude.
Lisa's husband, James, who was asked not to be shown, was also in the house at the time.
He come to the door, I think, because the dog's got out on his land, and he said, "Is that your dog?" I said, "Yeah." Basically, he was sort of a bit angry because the dog's on his land.
I was a bit upset because I didn't want to be causing trouble with the neighbours. Went out and we done our best to try and make sure that didn't happen again. You know, I just thought that would be the end of it and we wouldn't see him again.
The family patched up their fence, but not well enough, and soon Ruby was running wild through the village again.
A few days later, the farmer came to the door again. He was really quite angry this time.
He came round, had a go at me, saying she'd been on the land, apparently killed 120 birds. And then he said, "Well, I see her on there again, I'll shoot her."
Their neighbour John Cook ran a beef and arable farm, which was home to thousands of partridges and pheasants. And the law allows farmers like him to shoot an animal if it's threatening or worrying their livestock. But Lisa and James refused to believe that Ruby could be doing any harm.
She came back and there weren't a trace on her because she was near enough white and there was no blood or anything. But clearly if a dog was going to kill 120 birds, there's going to be some sort of blood round the front.
She was gentle. I just found it so hard to believe what he was saying was true.
Farmer John Cook demanded the family pay for the birds he said Ruby had killed. According to him, each was worth £30, which would have meant a loss of over £3,500.
But I said I wanted proof of these dead pheasants before I gave him any money, and we never heard anything from him again.
Lisa refused to pay, but knew something had to change.
I took his threat very seriously. Ruby's safety had to come first, so I had to give Ruby away. That tore me apart for about 3 or 4 months.
Kind of devastated, really. Like, really heartbroken. So I had her for quite a long time.
Ruby had just given birth to a litter of puppies. To fill the void she left, the family decided to keep one.
I come back from school one day, and there she was. There was just a puppy, and I said I want that dog, and we kept her. I named her Marley. She was a lovely dog. I used to let Marley off her lead, so she used to go in the river. She used to slide down this slope here and jump in and have a little swim about. She used to love it. She would just come near you and then shake all the water off near you. You're like, Marley, no. Marley was mainly my dog. Fed her, paid for her food sometimes. Yeah.
But as Marley grew up, it became clear she'd inherited her mother Ruby's adventurous spirit.
Her only flaw was escaping. She just liked to get out and run about outside.
Despite Marley regularly running wild in the surrounding fields, in 2013, James and Lisa saw no harm in getting 2 more dogs, Lily and Bella.
Me and Dad done this because they kept digging under the hedge and getting out. This originally wasn't here. This bit worked, but not that bit. There's a big hole there where they can get out, but in the hedge.
Despite the patchwork of wood, metal and wire, the dogs repeatedly escaped onto their neighbour's land.
Sometimes I spot them and they're all together, and Marley sprints off, and then Bella goes second and Lily's last, so they all used to follow each other.
But Lisa and James say they received no complaints from any of their neighbours during this period. And in August 2014, the Tuttle family left on a long-awaited holiday.
We'd saved quite hard for this, and we were all looking forward to it. We didn't take the dogs because the car's just big enough to fit the kids in.
Lisa left her mom and sister to watch over the animals. But 3 days into their trip away, she got a phone call.
I answered it. It was my mum. She said that the farmer had put a complaint in about Lily and Marley because they'd been on his land. Well, that was a shock because I hadn't had any run-ins with this farmer since what had happened with Ruby, so I did initially start to panic.
The police wanted to speak to Lisa when she returned about ways of keeping the dogs from escaping. Lisa thought everything was under control, but the next day,
Mum got a phone call and she went outside. I kind of got the feeling that Marley was, like, suffering about the dogs.
it was Lisa's sister. The dogs had escaped again, and this time the workers on the farm had seen them.
She said that they'd both been shot. They're dead. It was like a dream. A
chunk of me was gone. A chunk of my heart's just been pulled away.
Gutted. Totally gutted. Just totally devastated.
According to the farmer, the dogs had smashed their way into a pen full of his birds and slaughtered them, giving his gamekeeper more than enough grounds to destroy them under UK law. Bella, the only surviving dog, returned home with a dead bird in her mouth, which Lisa has since kept in the freezer.
As you can see, it hadn't got a tooth mark in it and it's fairly whole. Even got the feathers all still there. I don't think she had any intentions of ripping it up or trying to eat it.
John Cook insists the shooting of the two dogs was lawful. And so far, no charges have been brought against his gamekeeper or the Tuttles. But the family's simple life in the country has now changed forever.
I'm on antidepressants now. I don't even want to live round here anymore. Everywhere we go round here, there's reminders of what he's done and what he's taken away from us.
The town of Ludlow in Shropshire seemed like the ideal place for Pauline Bruce and her husband Tony to move to after he retired in 2003.
The town is a very old country market town. It's so peaceful, so quiet, and that's what we look forward to in our retirement.
Their new home was in a retirement community of mobile homes on the outskirts of town.
The neighbours are all very friendly. There's no children allowed except visitors, so it was very, very peaceful.
Pauline's son John, from a previous marriage, also lives nearby.
I come see Mum a couple of times a week. She often sends me text messages needing bread, milk from the shop, so it's a good reason and a good excuse just to pop in and check on, see how she's doing.
2 years after moving in, Pauline and Tony got a new neighbour. Yvonne Ireland Evans moved in next door.
Our relationship with Yvonne started off very well. She was a very nice person. If she could help you in any way, she would. She used to knock the door and come in and have a cup of tea, and we became friends.
But things changed the following summer when Pauline and another neighbour joined forces to enter the community into the Heart of England gardening competition.
It was exciting because it brought people together on the park, but Yvonne wasn't involved in that.
And what should have been a happy occasion quickly turned sour.
Both Tony and I said hello to Yvonne, but she totally ignored us. And I said, "What was the matter, Yvonne?" I said, "You haven't been speaking to us recently." And she said that because I'd got a new best friend, she didn't want to know us anymore. I thought that was a bit petty, really, because I didn't realise you were restricted to having just one friend in life.
Relations between the neighbours quickly deteriorated.
Tony and I started having silent phone calls. The phone would ring, and Tony used to sit here. He'd pick up the telephone, and by the time he got it to his ear, the phone at the other end had been put back down. So we used to dial 1471, and the caller had withheld their number. And then we started getting calls during the course of the night.
In the space of just a few weeks, Pauline and Tony received dozens of anonymous calls.
It unnerved us very much, and scary as well, because you don't know why people are making silent phone calls. You don't know who they are.
Pauline and Tony called the police, who advised them to ask the phone company to trace the calls.
They were traced back to Yvonne's landline, and the police officer came round to see us and said that he was going round to speak to her.
Yvonne was given a fixed penalty notice for making the calls and fined £80.
Obviously, after that, we thought the phone calls would stop, which they did, but other silly little incidents didn't. Very often, when Yvonne went past our home, she would invariably turn round and stick two fingers up at us. If she saw us coming in, she quite often opened the kitchen window and shouted abuse, calling both of us actually peeping toms and perverts. But she seemed to make sure most of the time there was nobody else about. So we got no witnesses.
Pauline claims this type of abuse went on for the next 4 years.
He got to a stage with Yvonne's behaviour. First thing in the morning, you'd sort of wake up and think, oh, I hope nothing happens today. You get a sick feeling in your stomach.
But soon, Pauline and Tony had a more serious fight on their hands.
In March 2011, Tony was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He'd got 3 to 6 months without treatment and 6 to 12 months with treatment.
It wasn't long before Yvonne found out about Tony's illness.
One occasion we came back from the hospital and she came down the path and stood in front of Tony and said, "You've got cancer. You're going to die." And then just walked off.
Stories about the conflict between Pauline and Yvonne quickly spread through the park.
According to Yvonne, we were the ones victimising her. She said that we used to watch her. We used to shout things at her.
For Pauline's son John, this was the final straw. Because the retirement park only allows people over 50 to live there, John was only ever a daily visitor. But despite this, he took it upon himself to take action.
I sent her an anonymous letter, basically just saying, back the hell away. I will warn you now, leave it be. Nobody believes the things you say, which I find tragically sad. But only you are to blame, Yvonne. Harassment is a serious offence punishable by prison. Would you like to go there?
Yvonne reported John to the police for harassment, but her evidence wasn't enough to bring any charges against him.
I guess I was, not desperate, but I just wanted it to stop.
John wanted to prove that his parents were the real victims, so began using his camera to record Yvonne's behaviour. And one day in the garden, the situation turned ugly.
I was pottering around in the garden here. She was either side of her fence.
Have you got your recorder on?
Yeah, I have.
Good. Because you're visiting here.
That's right.
Here.
And she started spreading her mouth off about Tony having cancer.
Oh dear. Guess who's got cancer? And guess who's got terminal cancer?
She had a approximately 4-foot long branch.
Go on, have another swipe, have another swipe. Go on. Go on then. Go on. Huh?
Come on then.
Oh, come on then.
What are you running away for? Hey?
Oh.
What are you running away for?
I wasn't instigating, I didn't taunt her. I did step closer. I'd seen that she'd got a weapon, a branch in her hand.
John showed his video to the police, and Yvonne was made to sign a community resolution, preventing her from making any further contact with Pauline, Tony, or John.
I was glad that A, she signed it, and B, that she'd understood the actions to be taken, but things did not quieten down. Within 2 days, the second bout of nuisance phone calls had started.
Over the next 2 months, Pauline and Tony were bombarded with yet more anonymous calls.
Tony was terminally ill with cancer. So, of course, you have precious time left together, and to have that spoiled by someone making unnecessary phone calls to you, it just made things worse.
Once again, the calls were traced back to Yvonne. She was charged with harassment, pleaded guilty in court, and fined £100.
Why do it when you know Tony's dying? Why cause us this much hassle? Why do it?
In February 2012, less than a year after his diagnosis, Tony lost his battle with cancer. Pauline hoped Yvonne would allow her to grieve in peace.
Unfortunately, she didn't seem to bother me so much. She turned her attention to John.
In Ludlow, Pauline Bruce's son John had been granted permission by the retirement park owner to move in with his mom temporarily, following the death of his stepfather Tony. And to ensure his mother could grieve in peace, John kept a close eye on Yvonne next door.
I was hoping that maybe a little more presence and vigilance on my behalf would quieten her down.
Can you see all right?
Can you see okay?
But it didn't work. I think actually I might have antagonized the situation.
John soon found himself directly in the line of fire.
As soon as I walked through that back gate, she'd be waiting somewhere.
You know you're a wanker. Got no mummy to hold your hand today.
She'd call me mama's boy, queer boy.
Mummy's little boy had to get his own tea today.
She would literally shout over the fence, "Every time the dogs go woof, it reminds me he's a puff." Which is tragic because I'm heterosexual.
One summer afternoon, while Pauline was with family in the lounge, John heard more singing coming from over the garden fence, so set his camera rolling.
I heard this crash bang, and Scrappy was in the jaws of a pretty big dog.
Mom! The dog, Mom! Mom! The dog, attack Scrappy!
In the meantime, Yvonne had come through the fence with a pair of secateurs. And I think my aunt was one of the first ones out the door.
Your dog just attacked my dog. I got it on video.
Hey, leave my dog!
And that's when it all started.
Get it on video. Yes.
She lashed out a couple of times at me. She brought up the pair of secateurs. It missed my throat by about an inch.
Just be careful.
I was frightened. I think I was frightened for our lives.
I want my dog. You'll get your dog. You'll get your dog. You don't give me my dog.
A couple of people took a bit of a battering.
You're trespassing. Your dog attacked my dog.
So,
Your dog attacked my dog.
I'm not saying
You're not responsible. You're not.
Go.
She's stabbing me. She's stabbing me with secateurs. Open the door. Let me go.
Although John wasn't stabbed, he was shaken by the incident.
It got a little hairy. Then, one form or another, we managed just to get her out, get the dog out, and close the door after us.
Are you okay? Oh, no. The dog jumped over and attacked my dog. I've got it all on video. Get the police here now.
So I managed to ring the police. And I was crying, talking to the telephonist.
6 years.
Well, I dread to think what she could have done.
Yvonne later told police she was acting in self-defence and they chose not to pursue the case any further. But Pauline and John refused to give up, so showed their video to the owner of the retirement park.
He had no choice, so eviction proceedings were started.
Citing Yvonne's nuisance phone calls and John's video evidence, together with complaints from other residents, Yvonne was served an eviction notice and given 8 weeks to leave. But there was to be no last-minute truce between the warring neighbours.
Life was like nothing had changed. She was still nasty.
Late one evening, while Pauline was having dinner with friends at the hotel nearby, John arrived at the house and spotted something strange.
I can see it from here. There she is.
I looked up towards Mom's house and I could see somebody with a flashlight. So I had a camera with me, turned the camera on, started videoing. With the camera still rolling, I made my way up the path. Got to about here.
Why are you flashing lights around Mom's house?
And the next minute, Yvonne came around.
Don't you think it's time you guys went?
Isn't it time you went?
Really? Really?
She started to hit me. The camera was still rolling. I backed away a bit.
Are you serious?
Get off the park.
Oh dear.
I'll give you all to chucking stones at my window.
Oh dear. You're dreaming.
No.
And then I just left the car, left the scene, walked down, walked back around to the hotel, and told my mum that I'd just been assaulted.
Even though Yvonne had been served with eviction, she refused to go quietly.
In the end, the bailiffs came.
Yeah, 12 months ago today.
Yes.
And saw her off the park. Still making comments towards the owner because he was here as well.
Yes.
And she's not allowed back on the park.
And when the owner of the park decided to knock down Yvonne's old home, John jumped at the chance to offer a helping hand.
I ripped down the fence, ripped down the shed, ripped down everywhere where she used to hide and photograph us and harass us.
Each piece taken down was a piece of her being taken away from us. And I've got to be honest, I'm not sorry that she's gone. I have a much more peaceful life now. I'm starting to grieve for Tony more. I miss him terribly and just so sorry he wasn't here to see the day that she went.
Yeah.
But after nearly 7 years of hell, and with the prospect of a new home being built next door, Pauline finally feels she can begin to look forward to the future.
At the beginning of next year, I will be getting some new neighbours. And I pray to God that they will be nice neighbours and not neighbours from hell.
On the edge of the beautiful North Yorkshire Dales, an ex-police officer is living on the edge.
I mean, all I'm doing really is sitting and waiting for him to come home, for my life to just completely erupt.
And all because of the man next door.
I've never harmed anybody, male or female. I've never been in any violence, trouble. I wouldn't do with that.
In 1998, after an injury ended her career in the Cleveland Police Force, Mandy Dunford bought a small Yorkshire farm to retire to.
This is Bootsy, my little Shetland. He's a lovely little chappie.
I just love being with them. I like the company better than people, to be honest.
Having found her dream home, Mandy was hoping to live in peace and quiet. But that was before she met her neighbour.
He was just constantly in your face, just always there. You didn't seem to ever have any privacy.
Mandy's neighbour was local historian Kenneth Ward, who lived in a cottage next door with his mother and brother.
This is where my boundary ends at this gate, and then that cottage is where Ward lives. Although this here is a public bridleway, the whole lot is my land, and he would just roam around the fields, everywhere, even go in the barn.
Kenneth Ward's family has lived in the area for hundreds of years.
It is a public right of way for ramblers, horses, mountain bikes, anything, and it's also the only access to our cottage.
In 2001, Mandy put up a gate across the track that led through her farm to the Wards.
That's how the harassment all started, really. I looked across and there was both Ken and his brother. They'd climbed right on top of the gate and they were just bouncing, you know, with all the force on top of it, up and down, obviously trying to break it.
If somebody was damaging my property, I'd photograph it or video it and provide the evidence. She couldn't because there was nothing done to damage the damn thing. We used to leave it open because we were entitled to. Even if I were coming home at the early hours of the morning, she'd get up out of bed and go down in her wallet and close the gate again. So naturally, we thought, well, yeah, we'll leave the damn thing open because she's mean awkward with us.
Ward was popular in the community. This local resident asked us to conceal his identity.
I don't necessarily think he overreacted. It was just another inconvenience for himself and for his family, as they were getting elderly to have to keep getting out and opening gates that they didn't see as necessary to be there.
Mandy decided it was best to ignore Ward and his brother.
I was thinking they want some reaction from me here. They want me to go out and start screaming and yelling at them. And I just thought, I'm going to just ignore it and hopefully they'll get bored and stop. I was very wrong, though.
Shortly afterwards, events took a more sinister turn.
Came down one morning to let the dogs out, and as soon as I opened the door, I saw in a pile down there, it would be roughly about 15 dead mice just been dumped at my back door. I was worried they could be laced with some sort of poison and might kill my dogs. It became a regular occurrence every single morning, different amounts of mice. It could be anything from, you know, a dozen to about 30. It was absolutely just sickening, absolutely sickening.
Because Ken's brother was the local pest controller, Mandy suspected the Wards.
I started finding piles of rabbit carcasses just dumped all over. They could start at the kitchen door and come round, go into the barn, and they were crawling in maggots. They absolutely stank. You were balking on them. I knew it would be Ken Ward who dumped them. I never actually saw him do it, but he's the only one who's ever around. You never see another living soul around here.
ever dump any animals on her land, any dead carcasses?
No, it would be pointless. What we would have to drive past the damn things if they were stinking and rotting. We'd be some of the first to have to smell them anyway.
By 2003, Mandy says animal carcasses were being left outside her house day and night. The former police officer was becoming increasingly afraid and turned to some of her neighbours for support.
The odd people I had mentioned, things that had happened to, the kind of didn't really take me seriously. I was under the impression nobody believed me. It was quite far-fetched, a lot of the things that I was telling them, I suppose.
Kenny's a character, no doubt about it. A very intelligent, knowledgeable, funny man. And people that know him know that he's not harmful.
But Mandy claims that 5 years after she moved in, Kenneth Ward had turned it into a nightmare.
Oh, I can't tell you what it was like. Not worth being alive. It was torture, absolute torture being alive.
But in 2003, Mandy Dunford says her neighbours' campaign against her became far more brazen and even more disturbing.
I was just walking my dogs down here, and when I got to the gate, I just glanced across there. I looked up and I saw Ken Ward standing in front of his caravan. He had wellies on, but he'd dropped his trousers and they were just hanging on the floor over his wellies. He had his jumper pulled right up under his armpits as if he was trying to show as much nudity as he could. He had binoculars in one hand and he was performing at me with the other. Well, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, you know. I was really shocked and sort of, oh, you know. So I just turned and I started walking back home, but I'm like thinking to myself, I didn't see that, it couldn't have been. And I was thinking, no, he must have just been having a wee. And then I thought, but men don't drop the trousers like that to have a wee. After that first incident, it spiralled really quickly. And every morning, as soon as Ken's brother drove out here to go to work, Ken Ward would immediately appear and just spend the rest of the day totally naked, performing at me and following me around.
Former police officer Mandy tried to gather evidence of Ward's behaviour.
I'd worn big coats and put cameras inside with the lens peeping out a bit, but he was always so close to me and watched my every move. As soon as I put a hand towards the camera to take a photograph myself, he would just dive into the long vegetation. It was impossible. I tried many, many times.
Because Ward was her only neighbour, there were no witnesses. And in the local community, Mandy found nobody believed her.
It was just, oh, jobs are stupid. What on earth would he do that for?
Why didn't she just walk away? I don't understand why it was allowed to continue for so long if it was causing her so much distress. Makes you wonder if it was actually exactly as it seems.
But every day, Mandy says Ward's behaviour was getting worse.
If I went back to the house, he would quite often chase me up the track. Sometimes he would even stand outside my window. Could be for up to 30, 40 minutes. He tended to kind of just follow me, racing about wherever I went.
Without evidence, it was Mandy's word against Ward's, but things started to get out of hand.
I looked up and I saw Ward running at me from over there. All he was wearing was boots and socks, totally naked. And he was just here. And I just turned and I ran into the house. Just locked the doors. And that was the first day I called the police.
Mandy begged the police to carry out surveillance from her farm to gather evidence. Instead, they went to Ward's cottage and issued him with a stalking order. Mandy claims their intervention only provoked Ward.
One evening I came walking down here with my dogs. They were loose by my side. And as I got to about here, he came leaping over the wire fence there and he just landed on the track right in front of me there. He had hold of a big rifle. I hadn't got very far away from Ward when I heard the gun ring out. Bang, 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 bang. There was 5, and I can still hear those shots now if I think of them. It was so frightening. And I just raced my house as fast as I could, ran in and locked my doors.
It's all in her mind. If I want to shoot rabbits on my museum property, which I used to do, and she's 150 yards away, that's nothing to do with me. I mean, it's purely and simply because I was killing rabbits. She just didn't want them killing.
But Mandy went to the police again.
One morning, I saw 4 police cars just driving down the track towards Wards, one after another, and I thought, something's finally going to happen.
The police were up, about half a dozen to the house, arrested me, and I was going to be charged with attempted murder.
But in a shock coincidence that same night, Ward's brother had suffered a stroke.
Unfortunately, he died out of the blue. There was a heck of a void and a blank and a sort of a space that couldn't be filled like.
Police records show that 3 air rifles and 3 shotguns had been found at Ward's property during the raid. But when they heard of his brother's death, the police de-arrested Ward, saying the family needed to grieve.
When I saw him back, I just couldn't believe it, because I knew he was going to make me pay for what had happened. I didn't know what he was going to do next.
In 2005, after police dropped charges against Ward, Mandy had had enough and put her house on the market.
It was just too frightening to be at home. I didn't dare stay. So what I did was I put a small caravan in the corner of the field there, and I spent a full winter living up here, me and the dogs in the small caravan. And it was freezing and it was wet, and the dark really got to you, the endless dark hours.
By the spring, the house hadn't sold, and reluctantly Mandy decided to move back in. But as soon as she did, Ward resumed his horrifying campaign.
Every morning I would take a big deep breath and just prepare myself for walking out, because I knew what I was in for.
And then wherever I moved on my property, he would just chase me about, day in, day out. It was unbearable. I was aware that the only way I coped with it was I totally switched off. I just went into close down, and I just felt that there was no way out of here.
One of the few visitors to the house during this period was Mandy's friend, local handyman Edward Stonehouse.
I used to come and help her, and I used to stay here while I was doing these jobs, you know. And whenever I was here, Kenny never appeared.
But one day, he walked across the field, and Ward was finally caught in the act.
But he was just sort of like somebody demented, really. He was just totally out of his head. I mean, dropping his trousers to his waist and doing that is absolutely disgusting. It isn't nice to see a lady living on her own and this happening to her.
And I had a witness, and I couldn't believe it. He said he actually felt sick at what he'd been watching.
The reason why I exposed myself and it was I foolishly thought it would help to get her to move away quicker and we'd get rid of her. It was a foolish notion that didn't work.
Edward persuaded Mandy to go to the police again, since she now had a witness. But yet again, local officers failed to investigate. But it was only when her old friend, Wendy Coulthard from Police Cadet College, got in touch after many years that Mandy realised things had to change.
When Mandy told me what had been happening, I was really, really alarmed, and I was horrified at what she was telling me.
Wendy offered to help Mandy get the evidence she was desperate for. Hidden in the back of Mandy's truck, she arrived on the farm unseen by Ward.
Once I parked here, I would open the motor for Wendy, then I would go to that gap there to just check on the track to see where Psycho was.
And I'd be looking out of the window to see what you were doing, waiting for you to beckon me. I would jump out of the van and run straight across to those front doors there and go straight into the house. As soon as I came in, I came straight to the window, I picked up the camera.
As soon as I knew Wendy was safely hidden in the house, I came out acting as I usually do, and I was so happy when he came racing down the track and immediately started performing at me. and I just felt, you know, really good it had worked.
Over the next 3 months, Wendy covertly collected shocking and incontrovertible evidence.
I wasn't surprised, now that I know the full story, as to why it took so long for Mandy to tell me she'd been ridiculed and patronised and disbelieved by so many people. And I think part of her was thinking, am I going mad? Am I imagining it?
Wendy went to the police with the horrifying footage.
When the police arrived to arrest him, me and Wendy wanted to watch what was happening, obviously. We wanted to make the most of this moment, didn't we? I'd waited years for this, so we came running round here. We laid flat on our bellies in the grass. We saw the police actually lead him out of his cottage and put him in a Panda car. It was brilliant, wasn't it, Wen? Absolutely brilliant, yeah.
In December 2011, Kenneth Ward was convicted of firearms offences, exposure and harassment. Police found a loaded Luger pistol under his pillow, along with other illegal weapons, explosives and ammunition.
When I found out that found the Luger pistol, I knew then it was 5 years, because it's a mandatory 5 years for a live pistol. You can't get out of it. There's no barrister on earth can get out of that, so I was expecting at least 5 years.
Most of us, I feel, were shocked when we realised the content of the court case. Silly man. He'd been suffering from depression and he has lots of personal issues going on, but yes, it was shocking.
Ward claims his behaviour at this time was out of character.
After the death of my mother and my brother, I was sort of all over the place, and if they'd been alive, it wouldn't have entered my head anyway. I mean, it wouldn't have happened.
After 11 years of harassing Mandy, Ward was sentenced to 5 years in prison. An internal investigation by the police found they had repeatedly failed to meet appropriate investigatory standards. For Mandy, getting back to normal hasn't been easy.
It still gives me the creeps to come right down to this part, because I still kind of feel him around and it makes my blood go a bit cold.
But after only 2.5 years in prison, Ward is out. Currently, he's not allowed within a 10-mile radius.
I deeply regret it, yeah. I'm not proud of it, no. I'm not, but I can't undo it.
Do you understand how that could upset a woman who's all alone?
Didn't upset her. Does that look like a woman who was scared? No, not to me. My plan would have worked if it had, wouldn't it? She would have been gone if she'd been scared.
In 2016, Ward will be legally allowed to return to his cottage just metres from Mandy's home.
The fact that he is being allowed by the court system to come back to his house makes me so angry. Why should anybody have to live their life each and every day waiting for somebody who's already offended against them to re-offend and do something, not knowing what they're ever going to do? It must be horrific.
Mandy feels she now has no choice.
After all those years of suffering Ward, prolonged by the incompetence of the police, I have been forced out of my home. What quality of life could I ever have staying here, living in total fear?
Ward revealed to us that he's not planning to return to the home that his family have rented since 1640. But he also made this chilling statement.
I might, just for devilment, because I rent that place, keep the rent on, and she'll always be wondering whether I'm going back or not. If I'm renting it, she won't know whether I'm going back or otherwise. That's just my prerogative.
Oh, they're here. Oh, they're staring at my spot. God, they just stood staring into my spot. Oh, that's creepy.
For Mandy, any vehicle that comes up the track is a potential threat.
All I'm doing really is sitting and waiting for him to come home, for my life to just completely erupt, don't I? I'd rather just be nobody around, you know.
Living in the city, people have to put up with living on top of each other. Parking disputes, blurred boundary lines, and a lack of privacy are part of daily life. You'd think in the country that you wouldn't have these problems, but you'd be wrong.
We didn't expect that we were going to have the road blocked on us, that we were going to have the smoke everywhere. It's just awful.
In 2006, Graham Eaton and his wife Maggie said goodbye to city life and moved to rural Wales to live out the classic dream of building their own home in the country.
We'd sold our property in Liverpool and we decided, you know, it was almost like living the dream, wasn't it? You know, to buy a barn and do the conversion. There are no plans, and we've done it as we wanted it. It's taken longer than we expected for all the problems we've had. We're living in the caravan still, and it's nice, it's cosy, it does the job.
For Maggie, the move wasn't just a dream, it was a necessity.
The doctor in Liverpool turned around to Maggie, who was asthmatic, has been hospitalised several times. He basically turned around one day and said, move away from Liverpool or take 10 years off your life.
Because of her job, Maggie has asked that we conceal her identity.
When we first moved here, it was beautiful, the fresh air was fabulous, it would really improve my asthma. We just thought we'd arrived in heaven, really.
And their new zest for life allowed them to live out another dream.
Horses are a passion. When we moved here, we had 2 horses, but we've bred a lot since we've been here. They are a passion. We just breed them and we show them, take them to horse shows. Maggie's a dressage rider, so we're breeding horses for dressage.
They share the valley with a neighbouring farm, owned by Terry and Tracy Phillips. Until now, relations had been cordial, but in September 2012, the dream life they were building was about to be shattered.
Yeah, it was about 8, 9 o'clock at night, and the mobile phone goes. I just say it's Tracy, and she's just said hi. She said, we're putting an application in for a yurt campsite. Have you got any objections? We're applying for 3 yurts, but we only want to build 1. And there's some other buildings as well. We want to do a holiday chalet. I said, look, I don't know. I'll have to look at the plans. A couple of days later, we're back from the National Championships. We want to go see Terry and Terry Seek about the plans, but they've gone on holiday. When we printed the plans out, looked at them, we are absolutely horrified. 1, 2, 3 yurts, a conversion of an old barn into a 2-storey holiday accommodation, and a massive utilities building. It's almost as big as the house. We live on a narrow road. We have problems anyhow, people parking and not being able to get in and out. It's just too big a development for a very rural location. And also in the application, they're going in for things like each yurt's going to have a wood-burning stove, each yurt's going to have a fire pit, each yurt's going to have a barbecue, and my wife is asthmatic, and we're just completely, utterly horrified. There's a big difference between, oh, Graham, we're thinking of having a yurt, if you've got no objections, to seeing this appear online, and of course they're not here. We are really annoyed at this stage, because this is just not neighbourly.
Before they had a chance to discuss the plans, the neighbours had an unexpected encounter.
It was lunchtime. Maggie and I, we had an application to go in for some stables we wanted to build in the bottom field. So, you know, part of the planning application is you've got to show the council what it's going to look like from your neighbours. So I was taking a photograph and Tracy just comes from around the corner and says, I want to talk to you about the plans. We said, well, we've seen the plans, we know what they're all about. So we made our excuses and started walking up the road. Tracy didn't back off. She was right in Maggie's face and she was going, I said, come back here, really shouting at Maggie. I held Maggie's hand. We were both a bit shocked and we just kept on walking up the lane.
Following the confrontation, Tracy's husband Terry decided to pay his neighbours a visit.
Terry comes to the gate, walks in, looking a bit angry.
I've been down by the horses and I heard loads of arguing.
And he starts shouting at me, you need to rein your wife in, you do. OK, well, Maggie's actually walked up to us by the stage.
No one's ever spoken to me like that before. I was that shocked. I just said, how dare you, you vile little man.
But as Terry departed, his words filled Graham with dread.
Then he puts this fantastic comment in that I know everything about planning. And I've been told by the planning inspector I can have anything I like. I can have all this and more.
The Eatons were fuming and promptly objected to the plans. But to their horror, the application was approved. And as building began, tensions mounted.
So this is what we've ended up with now. We've got 2 yurts in situ and there's another yurt to be established higher up over there.
It didn't take long for the couples to have another encounter And this time, Graham decided to try and catch something on camera.
Graham and I were walking down here with the dogs, and Tracy comes speeding down the road. Well, literally, there was no time to do anything. We just bailed in the bushes like this with the two dogs. How she didn't get us is still a mystery to me. So Graham asked her to slow down. Anyway, she didn't look very happy and was giving them all rude gestures, but we just carried on walking up the road.
But the ordeal didn't end there.
As soon as we hit the area where her front door is, they come hair-tailing out at us and started giving us a load of abuse.
You are the biggest liar on this planet, ever. Oh, really? Both of you. You know what? You do not know how to be civil. You've never been civil.
And according to Maggie, Tracy had another issue.
If you wanted to live the way you did, why didn't you just stay in the...
How dare she? It was just awful. She doesn't like what we do. She doesn't like how we live. We're doing a barn conversion. We're trying to make a good life for ourselves.
It shows complete lack of respect for the neighbours. You know, planning is supposed to be in consultation with neighbours, not what they want, they get.
By July 2013, the yurt business was booming. But for the Eatons, their perfect rural existence was starting to crumble. And one summer's evening, their problems became far bigger than just glamping.
About 10 o'clock at night, we'd finished with the horses, came inside, just watching the television. And 10 o'clock, almighty, almighty bangs outside. The horses are going absolutely berserk. I just basically legged it down here.
Graham filmed the whole thing on his mobile phone.
Can you stop setting off fireworks? Can you stop setting off the fireworks? Tracy, Terry, stop setting off the fireworks!
There's only one reason to do it. Get the horses, because they're going to get to us through the horses.
The horses have gone mental. We've had to sedate one, and you're getting the bill if you set another firework off.
But it was too late. The damage had been done.
This horse was so upset and so scared by what had happened that he just spun round in the stable. He smashed the stable to bits and he's damaged himself on the back legs. You can actually see the marks now, years after the event.
I'd had enough. Called the police.
The police informed the Phillips that they must give adequate notice before any further fireworks displays. But normal means of communication had gone out of the window.
Came to the gate and there was a letter just taped to it. By hand and recorded delivery.
The Phillips were planning another fireworks party sooner than he'd expected.
Another problem to solve.
Outraged at the short notice, Graham went round with a response.
You're not accepting it? Trespass. I'll leave it there for me then.
Trespass.
Sorry, it's on video. I've actually just left it off there, so... No, I'm not. You haven't got a gate.
Later that day, Graham says he got a visit from the police.
When the police turned up, realised the whole story, they had a chat with him and they cancelled the fireworks party for that night.
This time, things had swung in the Eatons' favour, but the victory was short-lived. And as the glamping business thrived, the effect on Maggie was taking its toll.
Each yurt's got a wood-burning stove, they've got barbecues which burn wood, they've got fire pits which burn wood on the verandas, and the smoke is just awful. The smoke really irritates my asthma, and I end up having to come inside no matter what I've been doing and close all the windows and doors and start taking my inhaler. My life just feels like it's destroyed. There just doesn't seem to be anything I can do. I just feel so ill all the time.
And as if the stress of the ongoing feud wasn't enough, the Eatons were about to receive another blow.
One afternoon, we were on the computer, searching ourselves, and we found this link to this video. It's horrendous. We just gobsmacked and couldn't believe it. It just slags us off. It's not factual. Some of the things they say are absolutely horrendous. They're slagging off one of our toilet facilities. You know, we have flushing toilets, but they're talking about one that's in the barn. Just used a stick to poke any sods or paper down into a basin. It will then be disposed of. Don't forget to bring hand sanitizer with you. That's absolutely sick. They're calling us basically trailer trash, and you know, that is not a reflection of what we are. I mean, we have flushing toilets. It's a work in progress. These photographs were the same photographs that appeared in one of their objections to our planning application.
The photos used on YouTube were in fact taken in 2013. But this CCTV footage was recorded as recently as March 2015.
Terry had walked down the yard and he was actually coming back, and he literally was in front of me in my face. He just goes with his phone in my face and carries on walking.
We asked the Phillips to take part in this film. They declined.
They certainly do believe that they are better than us. They do have this attitude that they are superior to us, and I find that really, really hard to bear. I am highly educated, I have a professional job, and actually I find it heartbreaking that that is their view of us.
But the Eatons weren't going to be beaten, and as the dispute rumbles on, Graham and Maggie are determined to live the life they dreamed of and complete their barn conversion.
My heart and soul's in this place. Within a year, that'll be done. I'll be in there, and I'll have great pride in actually knocking the caravan down and taking it down to be recycled. This is my dream. I'm going to be here, and nobody's going to push us out.